Welcome to the video on Romeo and Juliet, and this tutorial is entitled What Happens and Why, as it's crucial. This is fundamental knowledge for you to have a good grasp of what happens in the play and why those events take place. If you can answer those two questions in your response, you will create a far better response in literature. So, we are largely focusing on AO2 for this session, analysing the ways writers use language, structure and form to present ideas. So in your first tutorial, you looked at the way writers use language. You focused on the exchange between Capulet and Paris, and we really looked at the language that was used in that exchange. Now we are focusing on structure and how Shakespeare uses the structure and the events to present ideas. Our aims for today are to understand the significance of the events in the play. And what is meant by significance? Significance just means importance. So in each event, why is that event important? What impact does it have on the audience largely and the themes in the play? We also need to think about what happens and when. This is crucial. You must know your text. I cannot stress this enough. If you're feeling unfamiliar with your text, what you should do is reread it. If there's a film version, try and watch the film version. And I would say the older the better, because modern versions tend to overinflate certain ideas and just add a modern twist. So for example, in the film version, the 1990s Romeo and Juliet, they're driving cars and shooting guns. Clearly that would not have happened in Elizabethan England, but that's just a modern adaptation. But it is important that you know what happens and when. So I like to think of it as Shakespeare asking these two questions to you. What events did I include in the play? I'm Mr. William Shakespeare. Why did I place them there? That is crucial. So these two things here, what events did I include in the play? Do you know your text? And why did I place them there? So if a character dies at a particular point, why do you think Shakespeare chose to have them die at that particular point? If a character falls in love, why would that happen at that point? If there's a resolution, why does that come at that particular point? So it's always important to ask the why. If you can ask the why or answer the why questions, then you are going to have a far more analytical and sophisticated response. So, in order to test your knowledge of the play, what I'd like you to do now is arrange these key events in order. So at the moment they're jumbled up, and I would like you to rearrange them in chronological order as they happen. Pause the video now and please do so. Okay, so you should have rearranged those events and send your answers in, and they can be checked and we can correct any mistakes or celebrate your wonderful progress. So, as I said, we are focusing on the structure of the play, and Freytag's pyramid was a way of illustrating the different key moments in every tragedy. So you have something called the Exposition, and I put this dagger here because expositions, especially in Shakespeare's tragedy, they're usually full of violence. And then we have the climax, which is more violence. Reversal, this is where Romeo is banished, and then finally we have the resolution, or what we call denouement. Denouement just means resolution, where all the loose ends are tied up, and we have this love heart here to express the truce and the ending of the feud that the Montague and Capulet families come together and establish at the end. So we're going to break down a few of those key moments from Freytag's pyramid. Firstly, the exposition. And I want you to consider this key root word here, to expose or expose, if we think of it like that. When we expose something, we're revealing it. We are showing it. So the exposition is the setting of the scene. It's the writer showing you what this is going to be about and the main themes and ideas in this play. It's also about grabbing the audience's attention from the outset so that they're engaged, they're intrigued, and setting the scene. Next, we have the inciting incident. So the inciting incident is the event which leads to the main characters getting involved in the action, and the main action particularly. And I like to illustrate this with a spark, because we can consider the inciting incident as that spark that leads to the main event, that leads to the climax. It's a bit like the lighting of a match. First you have that spark, then suddenly you have a bright incandescent flame. And that's what the inciting incident is. It's that spark that then leads to the main heat of what we call the climax, which is illustrated with this thermometer, when the temperature, if you like, gets so high that it can't get any higher. This is the highest point of tension in the play. And it's also when the audience are expecting a major event to happen. So that's the climax. Just refamiliarize yourself with Freytag's pyramid. But as I said, for today, we're going to be focusing on the exposition and inciting incident. So we have these two events in the top right hand corner here. Samson, Gregory and Abraham begin fighting in the street, and eventually Tybalt comes along and Benvolio is there trying to part them. We've got another event here. Tybalt sees Romeo at the ball and promises to kill him the next time he sees him. So what I'd like you to do, I would like you to pause here and I would like you to think about, where would you place each of these events? Which one would you place as the exposition and which one would you place as the inciting incident? Now that you've done that, I would like you to begin to think about formulating a paragraph explaining the following. What is the exposition in the play? So what do you think out of these two events is the exposition? You're going to write a paragraph with these three aspects. What do you think is the inciting incident in the play? And lastly, why you think Shakespeare chose each of these events to be either the exposition or inciting incident. So those three things are going to formulate your paragraph. Once you have done that, I would like you to send that in for checking and feedback. Short video for today. Please send your paragraph in and that can be checked. Thank you for watching.